Hello and welcome to Becoming Your 2.0 podcast. My name is Adam H. Mortimer.
And I'm Damon K. Casabar, and we are declaring an all-out war on our limiting beliefs and our shadow self.
So if you're ready to overcome the things that have held you back, stop being stuck, and take your 2.0, the highest version of you, to the next level, join us on today's discussion. We're excited to have you here. Welcome to Becoming Your 2.0 podcast. My name is Adam H. Mortimer. We have a huge show for you tonight. This is massive. We've got Mae Novak, and she is a serial entrepreneur. She's an investor. She's a coach. She's an author, and she is out there crushing it in a major way. And she's going to show us the process of transformation and what she walks her clients through. Super excited to have Mae Novak here. Mae, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, I just wanted to start with some terms and definitions. If you can just kind of explain what that 2.0 means and how that can help people in their lives.
So explaining 2.0, I think you have to start with what is 1.0. And 1.0 is probably, I'm guessing, what 98% of the people on the planet walk around with every day. It's thinking that we are so identified with our external environment, we can't tell the difference between our external stimuli and ourselves. And we're just so in it that you can't look up and tell a difference. 2.0 self is almost like training yourself to have a bird's eye view of your life so that you can look at everything objectively and not take everything so personally. So your 2.0 self is almost like your own advisor. If you were the chairman of your own board, looking down, advising you what to do, that's like your 2.0 self. And what I love is the process of switching from 1.0 to 2.0, because that is how you achieve all of your dreams and success and make the most impact in the world and help the most amount of people.
I love that. And let me ask you this. Before we started working with each other, what was your day-to-day life actually like, mentally and emotionally?
Well, so we'll just get into the story. Before we started working with each other, I was 2 or 3 weeks into a separation from a marriage that I had been in for over a decade. So I was completely identified with my external circumstances. It was fight or flight, 100%. So when we started working together, I was probably the most difficult time of my entire life.
You mentioned being in fight or flight. Like, can you describe that? What was that like? What was your day-to-day like living that way?
Day to day in fight or flight, or when you are in your 1.0, you aren't looking up and gaining opportunities and ideas. You are thinking, okay, what is the next step that I need to do in order to survive? What is the immediate thing that I need to do? And so your focus goes from out here to what's right here. And so you're not seeing opportunities, you're not seeing abundance, you're not seeing the most obvious next step that the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, puts in your way. Fight or flight. I mean, a day is, get up, you're immediately thinking about, okay, I got to get my kid to school. I've got to get to work. I've got to figure out what my next steps are. And then if you're in a situation like I was, where it was a very emotionally abusive situation, then it becomes, how do I keep myself safe? How do I not get hurt? How do I get through this, basically? So even your blood goes to the core of you and trying to keep you alive. I mean, your body feels different when you're in fight or flight. So it's definitely a feeling of being scared, being stuck, and not knowing what to do next.
Interesting. So what do you think was the biggest lie that you were bought into, or you told yourself as the 1.0 version of you?
That I couldn't fully take care of myself on my own, that I had to have somebody else, that I could only get to a certain level of success, but that I couldn't fully successfully thrive on my own.
Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Um, Growing up being a female, it's changed now, but for so long, women were raised to put other people's needs first. My value, this was the lie, that my value was dependent on how helpful I could be to other people. That's why a lot of women, I mean, I have an MSW from Chapel Hill. MSW stands for Master of Social Work, which social work is a wonderful and much needed line of work. But a lot of women that go into social work go into it because they want to help people. They've got helping hearts, which is great. But the flip side can be my value is in how helpful I can be to other people. So when you get in that mindset, you can get trapped in the whole um, in my case, a man will take care of me financially and I'll do everything else, but my financial literacy was blocked because I thought that that was a man's job. I'm from the South. That's kind of how I was raised, not by my parents per se, but just societally. And the lie that I believed was that I couldn't fully thrive financially all on my own.
So obviously something changed. What exactly changed? What caused you to, I mean, to be aware of that, right? That's a huge part of it. The awareness has to be there. How did you gain that level of awareness, and what exactly changed that caused you to break that belief that was holding you back?
I think part of the change is society changing, and also a huge part of it is I have a mother and a sister. The two closest women to me in my family are both incredibly independent and financially independent women. My mother is a general contractor. She's a female in a male dominated field. My sister is at the top of the level in what she does. And so seeing them really helped me change. But then also, I got into real estate investing and I joined a group where it's all women real estate investors, and just seeing the success of hundreds of other women in real estate investing changed my mind a lot. And that those things combined, also with just growing and maturing and knowing that I'm capable and growing in my own confidence. But I'd say those things helped change my mind.
So, and what, do you feel like there was a moment when that clicked for you? I mean, you had an environment, right? You had some examples of people that were living outside of that paradigm, and that's awesome. What would you say to someone that maybe doesn't have an environment where, women are out there crushing it? Maybe they're still living in that old school belief system. What would you say to them? And what was that moment when it seemed to click for you when you realized I don't have to depend on others to be financially independent?
Well, the moment it clicked for me was something that might sound unrelated, but it's not. The moment it clicked for me was the moment that I knew that switch flipped in my soul that I had to leave my marriage. And when you are a mother with a young daughter and you have to leave your marriage, you get it together real quick. And there is something spiritual, and I don't even know if I can describe it in words, but I know a lot of women are going to hear this and going to be able to relate to this feeling, to where you've done everything you can, you've tried everything 30,000 times, and you come to a point where you realize you have no control over someone else. You only have control over yourself. And that ties in with the financial piece, because if you can overcome relationship difficulty, you you have something in you that realizes that you can do it. You can take care of yourself. You can do anything.
So, and thank you. I love that. And what what were you most afraid of would happen if nothing changed?
That I was going to live a mediocre life and all of my gifts and talents and joy and abilities were just I was going to die with them inside me. Um, One of my favorite speakers says that his biggest fear is going through those pearly gates and meeting God. And right next to God is the version of yourself that you could have become if you would have lived your life to the max. And so the biggest fear is meeting that person and not fulfilling it. So meeting that best version of yourself and not becoming that. That's my biggest fear. So in this life, I am passionately driven to become that person who's going to be standing there at the end of the day.
I love that. It gives me the chills kind of imagining, you don't want to be the person that shows up there at the end of your life realizing you're dying with your music still in you.
Yes, yes. That terrifies me more than anything. And that drives me.
Yeah, I love that. So, was there a specific moment when you realized I can't keep living like this, or when you had that that's it moment? When was that for you?
Well, the moment that I realized, I don't know if it was an exact moment, but realizing that allowing my freedom, and in a lot of cases, that's finances. I mean, money isn't everything, but money is freedom. Money is option. Money is choices. And the more that you have, the more options and choices that you have. And so I don't know if there was an exact moment, but I do know that gradually over time, I started to fully realize that this whole, being taken care of by a man or a corporate job or a system, anything where you're not in control of your all of yourself and your choices is a trap. And I have such a drive for freedom that I couldn't live like that anymore. I really needed to be in control of my autonomy. And sometimes systems that take away your autonomy can look very shiny, can look really nice with great benefits. But at the end of the day, what are you giving up? Your freedom? No, that is when I realized I couldn't do that anymore.
Wow, that's powerful. So, what almost stopped you from the journey? Right? Was there, I know you've invested in yourself, you've invested in coaching, you've done a lot of work. Did you ever get to a point where you almost stopped or you almost said no? And how did you overcome that?
So, not to be annoying, but no, there was never a moment where I almost stopped or where I said no. I have a mechanism in me. It's almost like think of a plant growing through concrete. You're in like a parking lot, you're at Disney World, you're in a parking lot. There's like no water anywhere nearby, but there's plants growing through the asphalt and the concrete. And you think, how do they do that? That is how I feel naturally. There's never a point to where I think I'm going to give up, I'm going to stop. This personal growth stuff is too confusing. I've just never had that moment, which I think is why I am. It's just that persistence and that consistency. I mean, I've been discouraged. I've been, totally just wanting to be like, why have I been working on this mindset stuff for this long and I still don't know my biggest fear, or I still don't know the moment where I believed that lie? It takes a long time. But what's the alternative? To just lay down and never get back up? I've just never seen that as an option.
Right. Was there ever, well, let me put it this way. What did you not believe was possible for you at the time? So before you started your journey and transformation, was there any belief that or anything that you felt wasn't going to be impossible when you started?
Anything that I thought that wasn't going to be impossible? Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Is
So
there anything that
so what did you not believe was possible for you at the time? So before you started your whole journey, was there any belief of, not believing you could do this or anything that you felt was impossible at the
Oh,
time?
100%. 100%. I thought completely taking care of myself was impossible. I thought running a real estate investing business with multiple very different deals would be impossible. I thought that living on my own without a man, a husband would be impossible. I thought managing different household. I mean, it's just there's so much. Adulting is so much. Like we all know this. You're juggling like with 10 different arms. I didn't think I could do it. It's like deep, deep, deep down, I knew I could do it, but that 1.0 version of me was like, how are you going to do that? Now, thank God I didn't know how I was going to do it all, or else I probably wouldn't have even attempted. But yeah, I thought most all of it. I didn't know how I was going to maintain my lifestyle, but I have. It's the grid has filled in and it's all happened. But yeah, I thought most everything wasn't. I had no idea to do how to do anything. Actually, I remember when I moved in when I left the other house and moved into my rental house and had to set up utilities, set up internet, water, electricity. I had realized I had never set up basic utilities for a house before. Things like that seemed like I didn't know what I was doing. So now here we are a year and a half later, and I'm not only surviving but thriving. Uh, yeah, I wasn't quite sure if that was possible, but something deep down in me told me, whispered, just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. And that's what I've done every day since.
Oh, I love that. So, when was that kind of magic moment when you noticed, okay, a shift happened, something changed that's allowed me to go from this old way of thinking to that 2.0 way of thinking? When was that magic moment for you that you felt things clicked?
Well, not to call you out, but I'm going to call you out. It was on a coaching session that we had, and I was sitting in my car outside of the gym. This was probably about 6 months ago. And you did a mental visualization exercise with me from going from your 1.0 to your 2.0. And I cried so hard. We were going through the exercise and I was visualizing, and you really led me to be able to shift frequencies from this frequency, this radio station frequency to this radio station frequency. And although I go back down here often, I know how to get back to here. And so doing the work, the energetic work, and being open and willing to go there has been the thing that has changed most for me. And I really am eternally grateful to you to be the facilitator. But then what you've also done is you've taught me how to be a facilitator for others and to help other people have that shift. But yeah, that was it. I was in my car in a parking lot outside of the gym crying, releasing, releasing.
Yeah, no, I remember that day vividly. That was a big day, and I remember you having that massive breakthrough. So, was there one belief or shift in the way you saw things that you feel made the big difference for you the fastest? What was that one belief or that one? We'll just call it a belief. Yeah, what was the one belief or one story or one way of shifting or reframing that you feel made the biggest difference for you that changed everything?
Well, funny enough, so we've been working together for a while, and I've been doing this work for a while. And we had a session last week. It was earlier this week. And I'm going to pull it up and read it out loud because you helped me identify the core root of my biggest fear. And I like to use the analogy of the princess and the pea. Some people remember that fable, some people don't. But it was this princess who was sleeping on top of 100 mattresses, and she couldn't get a good night's sleep, just having horrible night's sleep. Underneath all these mattresses, there was a pea that was offsetting the mattresses. And so all the way up here, she still couldn't get good sleep. And the reason I'm telling that fable is because you helped me identify my P, my thing that was all the way down here that was kind of taking my alignment off path. So I'm going to read it because this is about as vulnerable as it could possibly get. So here's my deepest, darkest fear that you helped me uncover. Deepest fear is that if I fully win, I will be exposed, rejected, and will eventually publicly fail. That just shocked me the other night when that came out in our session. I read it before I went to bed. I read it first thing when I woke up in the morning, before I got out of bed. And I've been reading it consistently for the past few days. I feel so much better. I feel like I've overcome that. That has no effect on me. That didn't even have an emotional charge when I just read that. Whereas 5 days ago, it felt like I had been punched in the stomach. So it's moments like that with this deep-seated subconscious identity and belief work that are the things that truly change the trajectory of the rest of your life.
That's incredible. And so how do you feel? So was it just the awareness of that, knowing that that was the operating system that killed the power of it? Or how did that go away for you? You became aware of it, but then what happened? How did that transformation happen where it lost its power over you?
Because when you recognize illusion as illusion, it dissolves. So it was almost like I shined light on a shadow and it just disappeared. Like that, that's basically it. It was almost, imagine yourself searching your whole life for something and never really finding it. Finding things that resemble it and things that get really close to it, but you're looking for this one particular thing your whole life. Well, that was it for me the other day. And so you find it and then you're not seeking. I've like quit seeking the answer. Now I can just move forward with, it's like it removed the ceiling, the glass ceiling that I had for myself. So when you identify your limiting beliefs, you can look at them as a grown-up and be like, well, that's not even true. Like, that's not even true. But if you don't know what to identify, it can feel like you're searching. So that helped me to quit searching and to say, well, that's not true. Let me replace that with something that is true, which is I'm not afraid to be seen. I'm not afraid to be heard. And I know that I have gifts that can help change people's lives. And I'm going to go full force at doing that.
That's amazing. It really is an incredible thing when you kind of shine the light. I mean, just being aware of what you feel, it's so true. It loses so much power. And to think that that's been a program that's been operating in the background of your life for years and years and years, and then to just kind of go, oh, wait a minute, that's BS. I don't believe that program anymore. That's totally not me. And I think it was able to dissolve so quickly because of all the hard work you've done on yourself, right? You set the foundation of becoming your 2.0, and you're able to dissolve that very quickly because of that. So what did you start doing differently that the old version of you would have never done?
So the old version of me would feel a tremendous amount of resistance when I'm doing new things. Like, for example, I'm expanding my real estate investing portfolio. And there's a lot of information, and you don't know what you don't know. And uh, I've taken some big risks that have worked out, and I've taken some big risks that have created a lot more work than I expected. But you just continue moving on and you just continue going. And um, it truly is just that being in that 2.0 self, you just feel unstoppable. You really do. Like the resistance is gone. Um, I'm diving way deeper into AI. I mean, that's, talk about having some resistance. Getting into all that, it feels overwhelming. I just don't feel the resistance anymore. It's almost like the I'm in a Ferrari and the park and brake has been up. Like you can still drive with the park and brake up, but I feel like it was the park and brake got released. And I'm not afraid of being seen. I'm not afraid of publicly failing or publicly succeeding. And that's been the huge difference. The resistance has dissolved.
I love that. So, what would you say is the biggest win that you've gotten either internally, right? The shift internally in the mindset, or externally, a deal you've done, or business that's come to you, or maybe a life you've transformed. What have been those big shifts for you, or those results that you've gotten since you've become your 2.0?
So I love coaching and I love helping people find their limiting beliefs and release them. It's like the most fun ever. But the biggest thing is that I have honed in on my niche. It has been revealed to me what I am best at when it comes to mindset, because mindset coaching is a big umbrella. There's lots of things that fall underneath that. But when I have gotten rid of the resistance, I have noticed that the universe, God, has brought to me a specific type of client without me even trying. And you know your path is being illuminated when things start happening and you're not really even trying for them to happen. For me, that's like a surefire way of like, okay, do this. Well, the universe has brought me several clients who are all multi six figure into seven figure entrepreneurs. And what they're experiencing is that even though their 15-year-old self would look at their self now and be like, you've made it, you've made it. They're over here making millions of dollars thinking, I've got resistance, I'm procrastinating. Sometimes I just shut down and can't lead my team the way I need to. And it's because of their identity lag, which is just another word for imposter syndrome. So the biggest thing that has happened to me is I have finally come to accept that my ideal clients are high performing, high earning entrepreneurs who have hit an identity lag limit. And I help them identify those beliefs, overcome them, visualize what they want to have happen, and walk them through that process and coach them through that process. And my clients, I will have to say, pat myself on the back just a tiny bit, have had some huge wins, huge wins. And they've done the work, but sometimes it just takes someone to hold up that mirror in front of your face and help you identify that pea underneath all those mattresses to move forward. And that doesn't matter if you're at, if you're brand new or if you're very experienced in your field, everybody gets to that next level and needs help shifting their identity in order to step into that next level 2.0 self.
Yeah, that's interesting. You called it an identity lag, or in other words, they're trying to do this. They're trying to take this action and get this result. And we know that everything is tied into how you see yourself. And so and I've seen a lot of people say this, like, well, I'll start to see myself as wealthy once I have the wealth, or
Mhm.
once I do this and once I do that. So they constantly find themselves in that identity lag, or I often call it an identity gap, right? From your 1.0 to your 2.0. Talk to me a little bit about that. The idea that if you don't embrace that 2.0 today, then the thoughts and behaviors are never going to be there to get the result, right? So, how do you teach people that concept, or help them realize that they are in an identity gap and it's costing them everything?
Yeah. So, one way to know is if you use the word try. I am trying to lose the weight. I am trying to get XYZ deal. I'm trying to move my business. Now, trying is, trying is great. The only thing is that when you're trying to do something that you are not, you're going to keep getting pulled down. It's like a thermometer set at 70. Well, if it's trying to get up to 80, but you don't change the actual thermometer, you're not going to get there. You have to change your own thermometer. So the best way I can describe it is like method acting. So imagine if you are watching a movie for the first time, okay? And let's say it's a drama, a suspense drama. You're watching that movie for the first time and you're on the edge of your seat and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? Because you don't know if the main character is going to die or succeed or if this is going to work out in the end. You don't know. Okay, well, what happens when you watch that movie the second time? You know how it ends. You know how everything works out. They ride off into the sunset on the horse. Everything works out. So you have a completely different experience watching that movie the second time because you know it's going to work out. So think about your life that way. Think about how you want this, whatever it is, the situation, the business deal, the fitness journey. Think about how you want that to be in the end, and then allow yourself to move through life assuming and knowing that this works out the way that you planned. Not trying, not hoping, but knowing. You know how this movie ends. And it's a whole different ball game.
Right. What would you say to people that, because I hear people say this from time to time that say, well, Adam, I just feel like I'm lying to myself. I'm not that person. You know, that identity gap seems so far away. The 2.0 seems so far away that it just seems like a big fat lie to me. So I just can't believe that right now. Or maybe they start to get resistance from the 1.0. What would you say to that person that says that?
Two things. Number one is if you can fight that hard for your limitations, you can also fight that hard for the 2.0 version of you. Worrying is you can worry for bad things to happen, or you can put that same amount of cognitive resonance into the outcome you do want. So the biggest thing is realizing that you actually have that choice. And if you don't think that you have that choice, then this work is going to be really tough. Accepting the fact that you have the choice is number one. And number two is you really have to be willing to feel ridiculous in your mind. You have to be at a certain amount of being delusional. Use your imagination as if this is working out. How would it feel if you're walking through your day, you're taking your daily dog for a walk? How would you feel walking that dog if you already had the $500,000 cash in your bank account? That would be relief. How would that feel? How would you walk? What would you be thinking about? How would you feel if you already were in that really fit body and your cholesterol and your blood sugar was where your doctor tells you it needs to be? How would that feel? And then you hold on to that feeling for as long as possible. And it's going to be weird and it's going to feel stupid, but it works. It's like a magnet. And you've got to hold on to that feeling.
So it's interesting because I remember when I first started doing this work, and you get into it, and it just feels weird. It feels, the words I would give it is it felt cringy, it felt corny, it felt, and I've since come to learn that that's just natural subconscious pattern interruption that's happening. So it's not a bad sign; it's a good thing. You're having a pattern interrupt. And so that resistance is normal. What how would you help people understand that when you're starting to become your 2.0, everybody's going to experience that cringy or that it's corny or it's not me. It's like trying on a new pair of Wrangler jeans, right? And the
Yeah.
first time you put them on, it feels really awkward until you break it in, right? And is it like a break-in process where you're kind of breaking in the jeans or breaking in the shoes, and it is going to feel uncomfortable in the beginning? Can you talk about the resistance or the uncomfortableness of becoming 2.0?
Yeah, so here's a super easy hack to get used to it. If you're right-handed, start writing with your left hand. Not permanently, but like get used to being uncomfortable. If you usually open your car door with your right hand, open it with your left. If you usually go out the back door, when you're headed to the grocery store, go out your front door. Do little things in your normal daily life that break your pattern to give you the confidence to be like, oh, I can do things out of pattern. I can do things that are a little uncomfortable. And when you do something simple like that, signing your name with your hand instead of your right hand, you all of a sudden go, oh, it's really not that. What's the worst that's going to happen? No one's going to notice. Are you willing to not become all that you can be in life because you don't want to be a little bit uncomfortable? That's just the price of admission. Like, that's just the price of admission. This journey of personal growth and mindset growth and leveling up your consciousness, it's not comfortable. Becoming fit at the gym, it's not comfortable, but you will never meet someone who just left a workout who regrets it. You will never meet someone who has done the mindset and emotional visualization work who says, gee, I shouldn't have done that. You will only hear people that are singing its praises and wanting to bring whoever wants to come along with them because it is that profound.
I love that. So, how would you say you handle challenges now as your 2.0 versus how you used to handle challenges as your 1.0? What's the difference between the two?
1.0 used to get really overwhelmed. It was almost like I was a car with an engine that overheated pretty quickly, especially after going through separation and divorce and single mom and new businesses and all that. Your nervous system just gets shot. Now I know how the story ends because I wrote the story. I know how the story ends. There's no way that everything that I'm doing isn't going to be successful. Even if it fails, it's because it's leading to a bigger success and a bigger lesson. And I know that for a fact. And so when you know how your story ends, when you know your story ends with you becoming the greatest, highest, most uh, the version of yourself that serves the most amount of good in the world, if you know how this story ends, then you don't have to freak out or fall down or cry and if you do, guess what? That's okay. Dark chocolate is my best friend sometimes. It's okay. As long as you're not turning to things that are harmful for you, but having a good cry or a day where you just nothing's going your way or whatever, like that's normal. But knowing how this story ends for you, I would say is the ultimate.
I love that. So, what would you say? Let's imagine that May 1.0, before you knew coaching, before you knew all this, you're right back into 1.0's on the other side of the screen right now. And she's kind of making some decisions of where she's going to go in her life and what she's going to do. Um, what would you say to May 1.0?
You worry too much for someone who's figured it out every time. I'm so excited for you to see what happens when you're open-minded enough to do these mental exercises, to learn about subconscious rewiring, to learn about your limiting beliefs. And I'm so happy that you're willing to consider being vulnerable enough to allow yourself to release these lies that you believed when you were 11 years old, 15 years old, 5 years old. Um, I'm looking at her and I'm just telling her that she doesn't need to worry because there is relief and it's on the way. 2.0 is on the way.
So, as you know, when you're in fight or flight, right? It sounds, we kind of go internally and we kind of we become very distrustful of others and even ourselves. And we often don't know who to listen to. And as you know, there's so many voices out there and people getting pulled in every which direction. Um, what, how would you consult May 1.0, knowing that she's in fight or flight right now. She doesn't know what to do. She's scared. She's nervous. She doesn't know how the story ends. What would you say to her?
So this advice is going to come with many eye rolls, I'm sure. But the advice would be to do less. Do less. The frantic energy that comes with trying to fix something that you don't know how to fix, and the frustration is blocking the answers. Do less. Work on nervous system regulation. Work on calming yourself. EFT tapping. You do these exercises that we learn so we can begin to get into a frequency where we can access the solutions. So that's what I mean by do less. And that might actually mean like go get some extra rest. Some of the best news I've ever received in my life have been after me being very frustrated, me saying, you know what? I'm going for a long walk. I'm not taking my phone with me. I'm going on a weekend to the beach. I'm not working on this anymore. And then you come back and then what happens? You get the answer you wanted, the thing worked out, the money showed up, whatever it is. So do less and take care of yourself.
Well, thank you for that, Mae, and thank you for being with us and sharing your wisdom and your journey. It's been very inspirational to see you grow and to evolve. Incredible story. Any final words of wisdom that you want to share with the audience that you feel would help them?
Yes. So I have been in a lot of therapy in my life. I love therapy. I've been in one-on-one therapy, counseling, couples counseling, group counseling, and I think that traditional therapy has its place and I love it. But I will say, nothing has come close to me personally than how I have transformed through becoming a certified coach with Achieve Today. I mean, truly. And I've never seen anything have better results with clients than this particular type of subconscious rewiring and the modality that this 12-week program has had. So I am so excited about it. Again, I felt like I found the thing that works the best. And I love it. And I'm so happy to be able to have had that coaching from you. And I'm so happy to be able to share that with other people because it creates epiphanies like quickly. And that's what everybody wants. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, Mae, thanks again for joining us and sharing all that wonderful information with us. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on Becoming Your 2.0. And as we always like to say around here, onward, upward, and inward. After all, it truly is an inside job. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
What was your top takeaway that you want to take into your week and apply and practice?
So if you can pick at least one thing, we call this the 1% rule. Just get a little bit better today than you were yesterday. We can't wait to hear about your successes, and we'll see you on the next episode.